In life, raising children is one of the most gratifying endeavors a man can undertake, and also one of the scariest. You try to protect your kids against everything and anything. Try to make sure they will never get hurt. Try to teach them proper ways while preserving what makes them unique. You always had an adventurous spirit. Today on the Comic Book Report, Sunder Tome 1 from Madcave Studios. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I'm happy to report that we are back in the world of Madcave Studios reviewing a paperback collection that I have had an absolute blast with over the last couple weeks. This is Sunder. And honestly, I have so many thoughts about this collection, I can't wait to start the review. Before we do though, just a huge thank you to those at Madcave for sending over this review copy in exchange for this honest review, and as always, a huge thank you to the channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I always encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link to it in this video's description, and if you see anything on the site you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, the Comic Book Report, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's comic book review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. This graphic novel was written and illustrated by Pierre-Alexandre Comtois. The graphic novel was published by Madcave Studios beginning in 2025. The volume itself collects Sunder Tome 1. And finally, today's collection is an oversized paperback edition with glossy print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 168 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first dedicated look at the front cover for today's paperback collection. I did mention it is a bit oversized. You'll see it next to a standard size trade paperback in a moment, but I love the design work here. We have all the cast of characters for the most part. We have the titles and kind of creatives up top. We have the Madcave Studio logo there at the bottom. It's all against a field of black, and it is very striking from the imagery here. Really like the cover. Transitioning now to the spine of this collection, we have the Madcave logo at the very top. We have a little image of Zeke, our primary goat boy character. We have the title of the work, Sunder, of course. We have the last names of some of the creators, and of course a little volume 1 there at the bottom. I think the spine design is pretty striking as well. We retain that field of black. We have the red text for Sunder and the font choice retained. Overall, really nice design work here. Along the back of this collection, we do have a little piece of art there, followed by a description, a bit about Sunder. We have the title there again at the bottom. We have the logo, some pricing information, age rating, things like that. I do think they rate it for teens or teen plus, which I found to be a little surprising, as I think that this is kind of an all ages friendly book for the most part. Maybe some heavier themes and some instances of violence, but nothing too explicit or graphic. Maybe younger readers, I would say reader discretion advised, but otherwise I think that this is a pretty solid read. And now for all you prospective collectors out there, just a quick look at that glued binding. My page is laid down pretty flat. There was very minimal gutter loss for my collection here. But again, I always like showing off the binding, so there's a quick look at it. And now that we've finished looking at the exteriors and the binding, I did want to go ahead and spend one moment going over a kind of size comparison. So to do that, I actually picked up another trade paperback I have here from Madcave Studios. This is Flash Gordon Volume 1, Escape from Planet Death. That was another fantastic read. I did do a full review of that on the channel already. I will try to link the video to this one in case you're curious and may have missed out. But as you can see, that is a standard size trade paperback, which means it's the height and kind of dimensions or trim size of a single issue comic book. I would say that that is the standard paperback size I'm most used to. And as you can see, in comparison, Sunder is a bit oversized in just about every respect. I'll show it from a couple angles, of course, just to give you an idea. It's not quite as large as those hardcover kind of boxy formats I've been reading a lot lately from like DC Comics Black Label, for example, but it is still a larger format, so I wanted to make sure to give you a comparison for scale. So we'll just finish up this one last look here, and then I'll go ahead and jump into the book proper. Okay, and as we go ahead and jump into the collection, we open it up and see a little piece of art which I loved. We have a title page, creator breakdown page, we have a publication information page, and a page that might have editors or people from Madcave listed. Again, we have some awesome black and white art throughout these first couple pages, the front matter. And then after that, we jump right into the first part of the collection with a kind of prologue of sorts. We have kind of an ancient battle of old, and it's just really epically scoped and just wild and radical and kind of mystical, magical, and then that leads us right into chapter 1. Now, I do think this was released as a graphic novel versus individual issues, but someone please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But this first collection, Tome 1, the Volume 1 as it were, does have 3 distinct chapters that punctuate this narrative quite well. They're all, again, punctuated by a kind of chapter break page, which I did appreciate, and you do feel this kind of separating out the arcs of this initial first story. Now, it is one long sprawling narrative, and I'm really hoping to get a volume 2 before too long, because right from the jump I will say I am absolutely hooked on this series. So let me go ahead and lay the groundwork of what this story is, or what you can expect from Sunder. I will admit I went in relatively blind to this collection. You don't need to read or know anything about this world or this comic before picking it up. You can just jump in at the ground floor. Now, this is an epic kind of fantasy quest sort of story that has this beautiful art style that feels kind of almost like a fable. It feels animated, cartoony, in just the best way possible. All of our characters are these anthropomorphic animals. The character designs are all really unique, and it's just a brilliant little read. I would say it's most comparable of everything I've read or started reading. It's most comparable to me to something like Bone by Jeff Smith, which is absolutely high praise, as I know that is kind of an undisputed classic. It has a similar feel to me, where we just have this long, sprawling, epic fantasy or journey with a really likable central cast of characters. You don't really know what twists or turns you're going to get, and I really just enjoyed that. We pick up with this main character, this young boy who is a goat boy named Zeke. He grows up in this monastery surrounded by these kind of bear monks, and he works in the library. But in spite the efforts of some of the monks, he's always getting into these adventures or conflicts. He's trying to save people. He's always inquisitive, precocious, kind of doing the best he can, but he just can't seem to live a kind of monastic life. He's always wanting to do more, venture further, find the answers to his questions, and so we see him just kind of this pent-up young boy, and it's not before too long that he encounters this mystical, magical book that when he finds it in the library, almost beckoning to him, he touches it and it activates this bright light. He might have a vision or something, and there's a lot of unexplainable things that happen here. And after that, he has this moment where the monks kind of give him this quest to find the owner of this magical book. A book like this hasn't been seen in some time. In fact, magic is all but extinct in this world. We don't really know much about the broader world beyond this little monastery, and neither does our central character. So we are very fish out of water along with the primary protagonist here, and I think that was really effectively done. As he is commissioned to go on this journey, we part ways with these bear monks who give him food and sort of their blessing. We have one of the monks kind of say, "You were basically like my child, and I did the best I could," and kind of, best wishes on your way. And he starts walking out of the monastic order area into the neighboring village or town. Along the way, he sees this really nice, almost giant turtle-like guy being pestered by all of these young children or ruffians, and he runs in to try to break it up and help this person that's being kind of terrorized. And he kind of rebukes these other children who are really just kind of brats, and they're mean and rude, and they walk away kind of ashamed and angry. And this kind of turtle guy, we find out, is kind of a dude that just brings cargo from place to place, and he's so thankful for the help. The goat boy helps disentangle him from a tree he gets stuck in, and in exchange, the guy offers to give him a ride into town. Now, he gets transported by this guy into the central city, and this is his first time in a bigger city. He says he wants to find a bookstore. That's sort of the only lead that his monk friends were able to give him. This this gentleman basically says, I'll be in the tavern. If you need anything, come find me. He goes to this library, or sorry, not library, it's an apothecary shop. He goes to the apothecary and asks about this person that may or may not have had a special book that might be magical. The woman says, hey, I'm taking over for my grandpa, but we don't give personal information. But the more he explains his situation, he says he's from the monastic order, and this woman suddenly becomes more agreeable and gives him a lead on where this customer might have been, who was this older man who dealt with these kind of magical ingredients or artifacts, was a bit reclusive, and may have been the owner of the book. So with that lead, he goes over to the tavern trying to find his friend, but his friend already has another job. But in that tavern, he sees a giant lion-like warrior figure and a young and peppy kind of mouse character or bunny character, and they agree to team up in exchange for the goat boy's help, trying to pick up something on their way. This leads to a really creepy looking castle, and the goat boy inadvertently gets kind of hooked into this sort of thief scheme. We find out that these guys are kind of get quick, rich kind of schemers who are just enterprising and trying to get their own way. The goat boy ends up helping them, and things go really awry, but they're able to escape with their lives. And ultimately, the other two, though positive-spirited, if not a little bit rough around the edges, agree to help him with the rest of his journey, or at least the next portion. This leads them into this sort of dry desert region. There's a bunch of crazy lizard monsters and things that are trying to get them. Before this happens as well, I should mention that there's these evil kind of forces that are alerted to the awakening of this magic book and this person that's trying to do something with it. And this dark kind of leader has this horrible tower where he's torturing people, and he's sort of this evil ruler, and you find that he wants this magic book, and there's some broader implications of this whole thing, and he dispatches spies or people to gain intel, one of which is this kind of raccoon or fox-like character who she's basically scouting the city, trying to find more information about who may have this book. She ends up questioning the person at the apothecary and ends up lighting the whole apothecary on fire with this woman inside, unfortunately. Anyway, everything comes to a head with this character when this spy confronts them in the desert. They have a really wild battle, and ultimately our band of heroes end up in this kind of underground cavern. The cavern kind of comes alive, and there's this owl oracle kind of recording or holographic kind of figure who basically tells them about this book is magic, you're the keeper, you're destined to help with this quest, or you can abandon it all and leave the world to its fate. And ultimately, this book culminates with him deciding to take on the commission and try to find the owner of the book and try to do right with his companions by his side. And that's really where Sunder Tome 1 kind of concludes. It definitely gives us a taste into a much broader world. I felt like this was a very successful first arc or volume that really feels like we're just at the beginning of a much larger adventure. I was completely taken away and captivated by this work. The art direction throughout by Comtois was just absolutely brilliant. The characterizations were all really, really dialed in, and I just had so much fun making my way through this collection. Frankly, my only regret about this book is that there's not more of it. I am absolutely eager to check out a volume 2, which hopefully we'll get sometime in the future. I should also note, I believe Madcave Studios has solicited a hardcover for this release, if I'm not mistaken. At the time of this recording, I'm not sure if that hardcover is out yet, but this paperback is also very nice. At the back of the collection, we do have some extras in the form of some character models and sketch work, and some little essays about the characters and behind the scenes about the creation of them. We have a little bit about kind of creator bios, and that really brings us to the end of this oversized paperback. And now that I've completed this read, I have to say this is another huge hit from Madcave Studios. I feel like this publisher has just been really knocking it out of the park. In fact, just about everything I've read from Madcave I've at least enjoyed, and some have been downright amazing. A few months ago, this book wasn't even on my radar, and now I am absolutely excited for where this series will go, and I'm just really elated to have another wonderful series to look forward to. But at any rate, these are just a couple of my thoughts about Sunder Tome 1 from Madcave Studios, and now all that's left to do is to give this book a grade. for one of the most entertaining fantasy series I have had the pleasure of starting in some time. The Comic Book Report is happy to give Sunder Tome 1 by Pierre-Alexandre Comtois from Madcave Studios an A-. This was such a fun and surprising read, and it was well above average for me, bordering on absolutely excellent. I hope the rest of this series holds up to this first volume because I am absolutely into it. So much fun, I can't speak highly enough about it. The art throughout it is absolutely gorgeous, and I think that there's just such a rich characterization here. I think that this is a fun read for so many age groups and demographics, and I just can't wait to talk to more people about it. If you have read Sunder, I would love to start some conversations in the comments section. Now that you've seen my review, are you interested in possibly picking up your own copy? I'd love to hear that as well. Let me know all about it in the comments, and thank you again to Madcave for sending over this review copy, and thank you to all of you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and maybe check out another one of my videos on your way out. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.